Most people sell like this. Here's our product, here's what makes it great, here are all the happy people who use it. Do you want to buy it? And they do all of that with no clue what the person they're talking to actually needs. That's like a doctor prescribing pain medication without even asking where it hurts. It's lazy, it's reckless, and it's why a lot of the time buyers don't buy from salespeople or just ghost them entirely. If you want to sell anything, whether it's software, consulting, agency services, or freaking gym memberships, you first need to uncover real problems, what they're costing that person or business, and whether or not they even want help solving those problems, long before you start pitching your product or solution. So in this video, I'm not just going to tell you how you can do this, but I'm also going to show you how you can do this by using an AI bot for a live, real role play. That way you can see these techniques in action. Before I jump into that role play, I want to give you the rundown on what you're actually looking for when you're asking questions to your buyers. The key to selling is identifying a real problem that they're facing that you might be able to help with, and then making them feel what happens if they weren't to address that problem at all. And that is exactly why this book, Gap Selling, and the corresponding methodology is one of my favorite, because that's what it's all about. How to do that by asking the right questions. Every buyer you speak to has a current state where they are now and a desired future state where they want to be. Your job is to uncover the gap between the two, the current state and the future state. But here's the kicker. You don't sell by describing this beautiful future state. You sell by figuring out what's wrong with this to make that gap undeniable, because this is what's real and this is hypothetical. And to do that, you're going to need to nail uncovering these three things. Number one is the problem. What is their goal and what is holding them back from getting to it? Not the surface level, we need better software or we want more views on YouTube. That's what they want, but that's not what's wrong. I'm talking about the deeper human and business issues, like we're not making any sales or my health is declining. The problem is a loss, it's a blocker, not what they want. It's something that currently or could be limiting or affecting a person or their business. Relatable example to make this real, I need a new laptop battery versus the problem, my laptop doesn't work. The second thing you want to know is the root cause of the problem. This is the real villain of the story. What is causing that problem to happen in the first place? If they're not making any sales, is that because they don't have any traffic? Is it because their salespeople suck? Is it because their website sucks? It could be all manners of things. Most sellers stop the problem, but they don't dig deeper to ask why. Why is that happening? What's causing that? And if we actually uncover that, then we're in a much better position to show how our product, our service, our offering can actually help address what's causing the problem and make sure it doesn't happen. Going back to our relatable example, you don't fix a broken laptop, you fix what's wrong with the broken laptop, what's causing it to be broken. But without knowing what the problem is in the first place, you can't possibly recommend a way to repair the laptop outside of just saying buy a new one. But if it's something small, then they shouldn't just go buy a new one, should they? They should get the repair, right? And the third thing you want to know is what is the impact of the problem? This is where emotion lives. It's where our buyer's motivation comes from. What is this problem costing them? What is it preventing them from doing? And this can go several layers deep. If someone has a broken lead generation process, that probably means their sellers aren't meeting quota, but that leads to reps quitting, missed revenue goals, and huge amounts of pressure from investors. Your job is to try and quantify this to expose that size of the gap. The bigger the gap, the more urgent it becomes to fix the problem, and the more value your solution has because it can fix that. Let's finish off that example we had. What are the impacts of a broken laptop? They're endless. You might not be able to complete your work, so you might lose income or get fired. You might not be able to finish your school assignment, so you might have to retake an entire semester. You might not be able to pay certain bills, so your credit score takes a hit. But maybe this person doesn't actually use their laptop all that often, so the impact becomes very small, which means they probably won't be in a rush or want to spend money to try and fix it because they're all good without it. The impact of not fixing the problem is what is actually going to make people want to fix the problem. And that's what this video is all about. So now I'm actually going to demonstrate, show you in real time how you can actually use questions to uncover those root causes, problems, and impacts. I'm going to be using a tool called Hyperbound. This isn't sponsored, but I recently judged a discovery competition where people were using this tool. So I thought it'd be a good way to demonstrate this. In this role play, I'm going to be chatting to Jason Silverstein, who is the VP of Commercial Sales at a company called Figma. Figma IPO'd earlier this year, and I'm going to be trying to sell him the tool that I'm using in this example, Hyperbound. The way I'm going to do that is I'm going to be running a 7 to 8 minute discovery call with Jason, the goal of uncovering his challenges, exploring business priorities, overcoming any objections, showing where Hyperbound fits, and ideally booking a follow-up call with him and his sales enablement team. So with all that said, maybe we should get started, shall we? G'day, Jason. Thank you so much for jumping on the call today. The goal of this chat is to better understand what's a priority for you when it comes to enabling the commercial sales team. If it sounds like a fit, then I'm more than happy to share some context on how Hyperbound might be able to help there, and if it makes sense to continue the conversation. Sound like a good plan, or is there anything else you were hoping to cover today?
That sounds fine to me. I'm curious to hear what you've got, but I'll admit I'm a bit skeptical about how much impact a tool like this can really have. Let's see where the conversation goes.
Let's see where it goes, mate. So maybe let's start off. You said you were skeptical. What made you actually want to take the call today?
Well, I came across some of your content on LinkedIn and it piqued my interest. I'm always on the lookout for innovative solutions, especially ones that can help us address some of the challenges we're facing with our sales team. That said, I've seen a lot of tools that promise the world but don't deliver, so I'm cautious. But I figured it was worth a conversation to see if there's something here.
For sure. So Jason, you mentioned challenges of your sales team. I know Figma recently IPO'd. Amongst that, I saw in the press release that Dylan mentioned that you're going to be selling into new personas, trying to sell AI. What challenges were you just referring to with the sales team, with the commercial side there?
Yeah, you're right. Expanding to new personas like engineering and product teams has been a big focus for us, especially with the launch of new products like Figma Make. The challenge is that our sales team has historically leaned heavily on Figma's reputation within design teams, and now they're struggling to adapt their approach for these new audiences. Discovery calls in particular have been inconsistent, and it's clear that some reps lack the business acumen to really connect with these new personas. It's been a bit of a pain point, especially as we try to scale and improve efficiency post-IPO.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And it's really helpful context as well. You mentioned that they are struggling in discovery calls specifically. How did you figure out that was an issue?
It's something that's come up in a few ways. For one, we've seen it in the feedback from prospects, conversations that don't go deep enough or miss the mark entirely. Managers have also flagged it during call reviews, especially with newer reps. And then there's the data. Our win rates and conversion rates on deals involving these new personas are noticeably lower than with our traditional design audience. It's a combination of those signals that's made it clear this is an area we need to address.
Absolutely. There's a few things I want to ask you about that's okay. But it sounds like these discovery calls, you're hearing it back from prospects, giving feedback directly to the Figma team. Managers have been reviewing calls. And the big one that you mentioned was that the metrics, the conversion rates and the win rates, I have to imagine on these calls aren't as high as they were. Give me some context. How do they compare to your historical win rates when it came to selling to that past primarily design persona?
Historically, when selling to design teams, our win rates were pretty strong. I'd say in the range of 3.540%. But when it comes to these newer personas, we're seeing that drop significantly, closer to the 2 to 5% range. It's a noticeable gap, and it's clear that the approach that worked for design teams isn't translating as well to engineering or product teams. It's frustrating because we know the value of our products, but the messaging and positioning just aren't landing the way they need to.
Understood. So previously, if I heard you correctly, you had a 33.5% win rate, and now it's a 22.5% win rate. Is that across the entire pipeline, or is that just on the deals where new personas are involved?
To clarify, that's specifically on deals where these new personas, engineering and product teams are involved. Our overall win rate is still higher, but the gap is significant enough that it's impacting our overall performance, especially as we shift focus to these new audiences.
Help me understand what percentage of your deals, and I guess also you said this is a shifting priority, so how many would you like them to be, are with these new personas versus the old primary traditional design personas?
Right now, I'd say roughly 30% of our deals involve these new personas, but the goal is to increase that significantly over the next year or so. Ideally, we'd like to see it closer to 50% or more as we continue to expand our product offerings and target a broader audience. It's a big shift for us, and it's going to require a lot of adjustment on the sales side to make it happen effectively.
Really appreciate the context there. So right now, 30% of your deals in pipe involve these new personas. Those are closing at a 10% lower win rate than the traditional ones, but you have the goal to move up to 50%. What's driving this goal to talk to new personas?
The main driver is the evolution of our product suite. With the launch of tools like Figma Make, we're intentionally expanding beyond just design teams to address broader use cases that appeal to engineering and product teams. These personas are critical to our growth strategy, especially as we look to capture more of the market and stay competitive against players like Canva and Adobe, as well as newer AI native tools. If we want to hit our growth targets and justify our valuation post-IPO, we need to successfully engage and win over these new audiences.
It's funny you mentioned Canva. They've done a lot of work with Hypebound as well. I'll touch on that in a little moment. One last question. When you, in terms of your commercial team specifically, what is the total revenue goal for this next financial year?
For the commercial segment specifically, we're targeting around 150 million in revenue for the next financial year. It's an ambitious goal, especially given the recent downsizing of the team, but it's critical for our overall growth strategy.
Okay, so I'm going to do a quick bit of napkin math there, but what have you tried so far to get these sellers selling these personas better? What kind of what have you done to try and enable them so far?
We've tried a few things. We've leaned heavily on our enablement team to roll out updated training programs focused on these new personas. We've also implemented more structured call reviews and feedback loops with managers to identify gaps and coach reps. Additionally, we've invested in some tools like Chorus and HighSpot to help with call analysis and content delivery. But honestly, scaling these efforts has been a challenge, especially with the team being smaller now. It takes a lot of time and resources to get everyone up to speed, and the results have been mixed.
So what I'm hearing here, it sounds similar to some things I've seen in the past. It sounds like your ability to coach and enable these sellers is limited by the amount of time that your enablement team and the individual managers actually have to dedicate to them. Is that right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. The time and effort it takes for managers and enablement to provide consistent, high-quality coaching just isn't scalable, especially with the team being stretched thinner after the downsizing. It's a bottleneck for us, and it's slowing down the progress we need to make.
Got it. So maybe just to recap really briefly, you've got this goal of 150 million in sales for the revenue team in 2026. 50% of that's going to come from these new personas, which as of right now are closing at a 1/3 lower level than the historical ones. So that's about 22.5 million worth of pipe, 1/3 of half the quota total is about 23 million dollars. That issue is coming from the fact that a lot of the reps don't have as much confidence selling and understand these new personas, and you've tried to coach them, but the manager is time strapped, especially with the smaller team, because I understand you had some layoffs recently as well. Have I got that all correct?
Yeah, that's a pretty accurate summary. The only thing I'd clarify is that the win rate gap is closer to 10% lower, not a full third, but otherwise you got it right. The challenge is clear, and we need to find a way to address it effectively if we're going to hit those targets.
Yeah, to clarify there, Jason, sorry, I didn't mean to say 30% lower. It's if the win rate on the new personas is 22% and the old personas are 33%, that would be 0.6 or 2/3 of the total win rate. That's what I was referring to there as a third lower, just to clarify. But on your point there, I think this is exactly why a conversation would make sense, because Hyperbound has helped teams like Canva do exactly what you're describing. A lot of the time, role plays, managers, coaching sessions can only go so far, especially when you're limited in terms of human capital. We found that the best thing reps can do to try and work with new personas is practice, which is exactly what Hyperbound allows you to do, using AI bots that replicate their personas' needs, motivations, so they can actually practice selling when they're not on a call with a customer, potentially losing deals or getting some of that feedback you mentioned that's been passed through to the team earlier on. I would be happy to show you how we could build out a persona for some of these new, an actual buyer bot for some of these new personas you're selling to, like you said, product and engineering and marketing, I think you were saying, and then actually demonstrate how a seller on your team could use this. Would that be a worthwhile use of your time, looking at how that actually works on a bit more of a deep call? More than happy to get someone from your enablement team to take a look at this as well, as it sounds like they're pretty involved in the coaching side of things right now.
All right, I see where you're going with this, and I can understand the appeal of having reps practice in a more scalable way. I do like the idea of being able to simulate these new personas without needing to pull in managers or rely on live calls to learn. But I have to say, I'm going to need to see some real proof that this works.
I'm more than happy to even show you some of the stats and workflows that Canva are using, because I know they're in your space and you did actually mention them as one of the competitors that you're coming up against more often. So why don't I do this? I'll get one of the bots that they're using and I'll change it over a little bit, and you can actually practice with this thing. Might even be able to send it to a handful of your reps. I'll have that ready. You could take a look over it, and then we could jump in a call with your enablement team to discuss, poke, prod, and ask questions next week. How's that sound?
That could work. If you can show me something tangible, like how this bot would actually simulate a product or engineering persona and tie it back to results you've seen with Canva or others, then it's worth exploring further. I'll need to loop in someone from enablement for that next call though. Let's aim for next week, but I'll need to confirm availability on my end.
Thursday afternoon at 2 p.m. We'll put a placeholder on. You can go confirm with the enablement team person that you're thinking about bringing in. If that time works, if it doesn't, you can always ping me an email and we can try and find a new time to reschedule to. How does that sound as a plan?
That works for now. I'll check with the enablement team and confirm if Thursday at 2 p.m. works for them. If there's any conflict, I'll let you know and we can adjust.
Beautiful. Thanks so much, Jason. It was great to chat to you. I really appreciate you sharing some insights about the team, and look forward to chatting next week.
Likewise. Thanks for the time. I'll be in touch if anything changes. Talk soon.
Thanks.
Take good care.
So in that example, we found out the problem in this case is that sales reps were struggling to sell to new personas, which was a company-wide strategy to expand the use cases of Figma so they could carry on growing their client base beyond their historical ones. The root cause of that problem was the fact that the sellers didn't have practice, weren't as confident, and the managers had tried to enable but were very time-strapped following some team size reduction and not enough time to roleplay. What that was leading to was a 10% lower close rate from old deals to these new ones, which meant that there was a lot of money being left on the table, which I calculated, and he kind of pushed back a little bit, was around $22.5 million. That's quite the gap, especially considering that Hyperbound probably costs just a small fraction of that and would allow these sellers to practice without their managers present because the managers don't have time for coaching, enablement, and role plays all the time. So this would solve that specific root cause. I booked the next step, brought some value in there, said I'd highlight exactly how we could use this to solve that problem. That is how you sell anything, really. If someone comes in for a gym membership, what's making them want to get fit? Why haven't they got fit in the past? Solving those things and understanding those will better position you to show why your gym or whatever you sell is actually a good fit for them, but also almost qualify them so that they understand the impact of not signing up for the gym, or not implementing a tool, service, product like yours. Boom, that's how you do it. Mic drop. But whatever. Just so you know, Gap Selling, one of my favorite books, and the author is a guy called Keenan who has a sales training organization called A Sales Growth Company. I actually recently started working in partnership with Keenan because we're launching a new book called Gap Prospecting this year, which is going to talk about all the things that this book touched on how to be problem-centric, but further up in the pipeline when you're still reaching out to cold prospects who have no idea who you are and haven't yet agreed to a call. If you'd like to get updates on that, if you're someone who does a lot of cold outreach, then make sure to click the link in the description where there's a wait list, and we'll be sending updates, pre-reads, and information on that list there. Subscribe down there, and while you're there, be sure to like, stick the bell on, subscribe to the channel. Love you all. Peace, love, and sales.